Alright, welcome everyone to episode 2 of the offline coaching series. This is a replay I got quite recently. I think it's around 1200 elo, the level of these players. And I have already run through this replay yesterday. So I'm just gonna try to focus on a couple points that I mentally wrote up for myself. It's a bit of a longer replay, so we'll be skipping sections and editing them out if they are not important. Alright, let's begin. So I'm not sure if you were expecting the instant rush, because based on the score I don't think it was easy to spot. From what I could tell, this might be some tournament game because it's not base D script. So I guess that makes sense that you took 2 elephants so early to avoid them getting named, which makes a lot of sense. We do try to take the enemy's forward elephant ourselves, but we get hit a bit too many times and also end up failing the lane. This is something that I don't recommend a lot of players to do, around this level at least, because it's very difficult to pull off a lane without damaging your economy more than the opponent's. It requires pretty decent multitasking, and especially with like the drush going around your base, it can get quite chaotic. So overall, I don't recommend it. It is a good skill to learn eventually, of course. But I think at this level, you're not quite ready for that level of multitasking yet. I do have some methods to improve that, but today's video is not going to be the focus on that topic. So we're going to move on. So we end up losing the scout, which is quite a massive deal. Not just because we are playing blindly, but also it weakens our opening quite a bit. We do go for a Manatarm or Militia opening in Feudal Age, which is the right call, considering they've done a rush and they'll be up a bit later to Feudal Age, and Manatarms is probably the best way to punish that. But now we don't have our scout, which means we cannot stop the opponent from quick walling, we cannot block villagers that try to escape. Eco balance is a bit off as well. We also murdered all of our water buffalo in one go. So we didn't need this many on wood for a Manatarm opening, so we can't really afford it. And this kind of puts the opponent in slightly better position despite having, well, I guess with the IDOTC time you're still ahead. But the drush got its good value, because we don't want to have our buildings here, we would want to have them in front of the gold. But yeah, really the biggest mistake so far was losing the scout. So try to avoid that in the future, I guess. Some cases you can't avoid it, so like that's fine. But yeah, I think here's the second biggest part of the early game for me. We are massing archers until we have 4, and I think waiting for fletching before we hit. This makes sense for team games. But I think in 1v1s, more often than not, you would want to move out when you're on 2 archers or even 1. And especially in this case, the opponent is still Dark Age, so like they cannot do anything to really stop you other than copious amounts of walling, which you can deny with the militias that you had. But now we are giving time for the opponent to mass their skirms defensively, and this is also a fight that we shouldn't be running away from, because we did wait for fletching, right? So it's not maybe as obvious, but 4 archers do beat 2 skirms, which are completely unupgraded. Once you have fletching, it's a fight that you can absolutely take and should take, considering this is your window to strike. But we end up running away, not really causing that much damage, except kicking them off the goat temporarily. And we racked up quite a bit of IDTC at this point ourselves, which means the economies are quite similar. We do end up adding a stable, which I like, actually, especially since the opponent doesn't have a safe gold. Like, this is the gold that they walled not in the best way. You can just deny this with archers completely. So I like the scouts follow-up. The only thing is, it would be better to commit to like 5 instead of 3. Since we lost the starting one, just a couple spears on top of the skirm mass will probably be able to defend this. And we also need to be in front of the archers with the scouts at all times to avoid getting trapped. Like, this is an army we could have cleaned up already if we were moving properly with the army. And then we also take not the best fight, because we are fighting uphill. We take a couple hits from the spears. Like, with 5 scouts, I think this is an easy cleanup for us. But yeah, now we took too many hits, the scout is too weak, and we have to run away once again. So like, if you commit to the scout follow-up in Feudal Age, unless you are absolutely sure that they won't have the army out on the map, it makes sense to commit to a little bit more. Not too much, like I don't think you need bloodlines and stuff, but sometimes it can be nice. So yeah, it feels like at this point we invested more into the army, but still got less out of it, if that makes sense. Delayed our castle each time quite a bit. Managed to get away with these archers, which is okay. And adding a second range, which is a good call. We will try to hit them with crossbows, which makes a lot of sense in this position. The opponent is in the better spot, considering their castle each time is better. They can choose to go for skirms or just cavalry. I think skirms would make more sense, considering the state of the economies. And what they need to do with the skirms at this point is basically stop you from putting forward siege on them. Since with crossbows, the biggest complement to the crossbow army against skirms is siege. And now this is another decision that I'm not a big fan of. We are going for university to get ballistics and also adding a TC at the same time, but we cannot really afford both. So and this is also not a TC that we need. It's not like we are in any immediate danger, right? So it would make more sense to either add 2 TCs and try to do damage without ballistics, or just commit to ballistics and go heavier on the army. And especially since we are already taking stone, which I'm not sure why we are doing it. But if we stay 1 TC and play crossbow knight with ballistics, there's a good chance we can just drop the castle forward on the opponent's face, which would be quite good. But we just end up doing half and half of both, weakening our position quite a bit. The opponent didn't commit to lead skirm, so we take a decent fight. And yeah, this was still a good engagement for us, despite some of the army lagging behind. this is a spot where like the opponent threw most of their army at us, which like I guess we can assume that they have a bit more army elsewhere, but considering that your army was directly threatening most of their base, they would wanna clean it up with everything they have, which means winning this fight here, coupled with the reinforcements coming from home, we are gonna be able to get a castle up forward from this point. And that's what we should go for, in my opinion. But we end up going for passive castle. This is a good late game castle, but at this point it doesn't really do anything for us. It's also like you don't have a unit from the castle that you can realistically commit to at this point with the economy. So I feel like the main theme of this game is missing opportunities to hit a timing window when we had the army lead, like the definitive army lead. Like once again, we have a decent sized army, like 20 crossbows, 4 knights, but we are just not really doing anything with it, right? We could be putting pressure with forward siege, or maybe even another castle, hitting multiple spots with smaller armies. We're just being way too passive. Now we go for another castle, a bit more forward. It will go up, I think. But yeah, usually at this point the economy difference is gonna be quite substantial, since we committed to 2 castles but haven't really done any real damage yet. And I guess we are trying to fast imp, which can be okay, but I don't think it's the best play in this matchup. Malians are an excellent civ to go full castle age with. Plus, like this castle does deny the main gold, kind of. There's another gold here, forward, and one in the back. If you can deny like the forward golds with full castle edge play, you're gonna be in an excellent spot, and you don't have to go for a fast imp with a civ that doesn't get bracer. So that's what I would prefer. I guess it's still winnable with a fast imp from this point. But the biggest issue from here on out is gonna be defending your own base, because you don't have anything defending all of this, right? Like both of your castles are in the middle and forward. So when you are in this position, you have to make sure you outpost the map and try to do a wall off that's not gonna be overchopped, or like they can't just run in like this, because this is what ends up killing you completely. When you are doing this kind of low eco push forward, you have to make sure your eco is safe at home. And this is kind of where the game gets lost for good. Now your push has to kill, but I don't know if you get Arbalest. Even with Arbalest and Chemistry, you don't really outrange the siege, so it's kind of awkward. And the opponent has a 110 wheel economy with Slavs farms. They can outspam you and raid you to death at home because you're not defended there. So I don't think you can win this game from this position, realistically. Yeah, so I don't think it's important to watch the rest. I know what happens, but for the sake of this video and for the sake of coaching, I don't think what happens afterwards is important. basically you just get run over because the opponent has a much better economy and you don't really have the army lead anywhere after this. So I think the key takeaways is to not lose the scout early on. It's extremely important, especially in the Marathon opening. We want to be moving out with the archers early if we are going straight archers. Like possibly forcing the opponent into getting skirm upgrades and so on. We just played too passive with the army that we had, both in feudal and in castle age. And when we did have still the army lead, we didn't really capitalize on it because we made the passive castle. We didn't really use our army for a lot of the game. They were just sitting in the middle. And also the 2TC and university at the same time. It would be better to commit to one than to do half of both. So how can we improve this part of our gameplay? I guess just playing more archers, getting a better feel for it. I feel like at mid-elo, like 1200, playing cav is a lot easier than playing archers. But once you do master it, you will get much better game knowledge and game sense for a lot of things. Not just archers, but like in general. So I feel like for the sake of improving, playing more archers can be hugely beneficial. And I feel like nowadays the Marathon opening is pretty meta with the current balance. So you can't really go wrong with that. And Marathon Archers is going to be a strong opening either way. So, and another thing is, I don't know if you use control groups for your army. Based on the movements that I've seen, I'm gonna guess no, but I'm not sure. Either way, it's really important to control group your armies. You don't have to make separate groups for each unit type you have, but for example, in early feudal, your militias and archers can be on one group. It just makes it a lot easier to switch between the army forward and your economy at home. Because learning how to multitask and switch between these is gonna be key to improve our gameplay. And it can help a lot to have this mindset of being in cycles during the game. Like you spend a couple of seconds looking at your army, and then you go back home to spend a couple of seconds on your economy. Or if you have to finish your walls at the same time, then you add that to the list. You have one villager building the walls, and then you go back to the army at the front. Just the basics of macro plus micro, but being in balance and not having full focus on one of them for extended periods of time. This is something that you can practice even without an opponent as well. You can just execute a build order, like for example Marathon Archers, even against the AI, or you don't have to play against anything really. But just control group your army, pay attention to it, micro it, and then go back to your economy. There's farms, spend your wood, make sure your TC is not idle. So like have this cycle of micro, then spend your wood and spend your food, which means typically creating villagers. Yeah. Otherwise, I think I've said everything I've had to say. So I guess thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.